everybody. Yes, it is actually another vlog going up already. My goal in this new year is to do at least one vlog a week. So I guess by getting this done on Monday, I'm kind of ensuring that that actually happens this week. So today I wanted to talk about a blog post I did actually about a year and a half ago, entitled 5 Tips for Girls in the Throes of Wedding Planning. I know that sometimes a lot of proposals and all of that good stuff happen over Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. So I thought now might be a good time to share this with all of you new followers who may not have seen it last year, or I'm sorry, in 2014 when it was originally posted. And also I figured I'd go ahead and do this now because I know a lot of weddings happen in the spring and in the summer. So I thought I'd just go ahead and share this with y'all now. This article came about because I had a reader who had just gotten engaged and was wanting some wedding planning ideas. At this point, I'd only been married myself for about 4 or 5 months, and so I had just gone through all of that and kind of had all of that kind of fresh in my mind still. And so this is what I shared with her. This entire article can be found on my blog, which is heartgraveshomeandhearth.blogspot.com. But just today, I'll go ahead and just give you all a brief overview of each of the 5 tips. And then if you want some more elaboration on that, then by all means, hop on over to the blog and read it for yourself on your own time. So number 1 is don't focus so much on all the little details. Remember that what is important is the marriage, not the wedding. This is super important for a lot of reasons. For one thing, being engaged can be a stressful time, and that's sad because it's a sweet and special time. But when we are so focused on the wedding planning and what has to be done and trying to make it perfect and having it be as Pinterest worthy as we can, we lose sight on what's most important. And what is most important is not the ceremony and not the reception, it's the marriage. And so, excuse me. And so I feel like this is really, really important. That engagement period is not just provided to you so that you can wedding plan. That is obviously one of the most important endeavors you will be, performing during that time. But in addition to that, it's a special time to go through your premarital counseling. It's a special time to get to know your fiance better, and to kind of lay the foundations for a successful marriage, and that's hugely important. So focus more on the marriage that's coming up and not so much on the wedding ceremony. Number 2, so basically the gist of that one would be make sure your priorities are correct. Number 2 is don't get so wrapped up with looking forward to your wedding day that you forget the here and now. When you are engaged, you are in the final weeks and months as a single gal. You will never be single again, Lord willing. You will find that your life is just about to be hugely changed. You won't be able to, spend time with your family the same amount, that you did before. Perhaps you won't be able to just, necessarily get with your girlfriends at the drop of a hat. So really take this time while you're engaged to soak it all up, to savor this time. It goes by so quickly and you can't get it back. So take these final months or weeks, however long you have left, as a single girl, and make memories with your friends, make memories with your family. Soak all that you can up from that time in terms of making precious memories that you'll treasure forever. Realize that this, again, is a special time in your life. It will go by quickly. You won't get it back, so make the most of it. Number 3 is make a budget for your wedding day and stick to it. Now, I know a lot of us girls, our parents may pay for the majority of the ceremony and reception and all of that, but it's important, whether your parents are paying for it for you or if you're paying for it yourself or whatever, to make a budget and to stick to it. That's not the most fun tip in the entire list, but if you're going to be financially free as a married couple, it's important to start practicing those things now. If you're going to stick to a budget when you're married, get the practice of having a budget. Sorry, I'm trying to block the light as much as I can. So sorry. It's important to start, a budget now and do your best to stick to it now. I forget the exact statistic these days, but I want to say that the average amount that people in America spend on their weddings is between 30 and 50,000, I believe, right now. I'm sorry, but that's a little crazy. Consider what all you could do with that money, or with a chunk of that money instead. Because I think our problem oftentimes is we forget that the wedding day is only going to last for a few hours. I mean, obviously it's always 24 hours, just like any other day. But the wedding ceremony and the reception are only a few hours long. That's it. And so perhaps just consider and talk it over with your fiance and pray about it. Talk it over with your parents. Instead of spending all that money on something that will only last a few hours, consider taking a chunk of that money and instead putting it towards something that'll last forever, in terms of putting it into a savings account for your marriage, putting it towards a down payment on your first house. There's a number of things, that you can do with that money that'll really be an investment, rather than throwing it away on, special decorations that'll be thrown out afterwards, or that'll be returned because they were rented or whatever. So that's make a budget for your wedding day and stick to it. Number 4 is, while you're engaged, remember that you aren't married and don't act as if you are. This one, in some ways, is probably the hardest one. The tendency of many couples, even the most well-meaning ones, is to kind of view themselves as already married. You're so close to that wedding day. You're so close to being married. So hey, who cares if you kind of fudge on your purity standards a little bit? You're fixing to be husband and wife. What's the big deal, right? But just keep in mind you aren't married yet. And so, we can't take advantage of, that time with our fiance as if we can lay claim to them as our spouse, because they're not our spouse yet. And so I know that's hard. I know that temptations are flying around you like crazy during this time. I've been there. But I have to tell you, it is so worth it to wait in all of those areas and to fully enjoy being married, and having the intimacy aspect be part of your marriage and not a part of your engagement process. And so, because one thing is, purity and protecting your fiance's reputation and being faithful to what's best for your fiance is just as important as the aspect of being married and being pure in your marriage and being faithful to your spouse and all of that. And so it's great practice now to hold to those purity standards and to resist the temptation that is swirling around you now while you're just engaged. It's great preparation for when you'll need to do the same things when you're married, in terms of other worldly temptations. Not, obviously it's a different set of temptations, clearly, but the principle still holds, I think. Okay, the 5th and final tip is, and you'll love this, I'm sure, borrow, bargain hunt, and barter. What do I mean by that? Okay, borrow. Let's say you are a girl who has just had several friends get married, and now it's your turn. Well, call them up and see if they don't have some leftover decorations, vases, flowers, if they were fake flowers, whatever, that you could maybe borrow for your own wedding and reception. This is a huge money saver, and it's a great way to repurpose those items and get more use out of items which may have only been used for an hour or two. In the case of especially things used during the ceremony, because that really doesn't usually last very long. Also, bargain hunt. Okay, don't forget the virtues of the local Dollar Tree. That may sound funny, but for example, with our reception, my mom found that our local Dollar Tree stores had beautiful glass vases that were high quality and that were lovely, and were only $1 each. And so what we did for our centerpieces was we took these lovely vases We filled them with rose petals and floating candles. And it was beautiful. It was simple, but it was elegant. And the vases themselves were only $1 each. So even if we needed 25 or 30 or whatever, we still weren't looking at very much expense because of the cheap price of each individual vase. So keep that in mind. Okay, finally, barter. What does that mean? Well, that's when you are going to trade one service or amount of goods for another. So let's say you have a friend who is fantastic with hair and makeup. Well, you could call that friend up and say, hey, you are so good at doing hair and makeup. Would you be willing to do my hair and makeup and the hair and makeup of my bridesmaids? And then I will in turn do something for you, maybe after the wedding. I will, when you get back from our honeymoon, I will serve you in this way, or I will provide this to you, or whatever. And so then you are left with great quality hair and makeup, but you're not spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars to get it professionally done. You're also probably saving some time because you don't have to race off to the salon right before your wedding ceremony and hope that everything goes well and goes quickly and all of that. And so that is just a little bit info on each of the 5 tips I shared in this article. Excuse me. If you would like to read the article in its entirety, again, I'm sorry. You can find that at hargraveshomeandhearth.blogspot.com, and the title of it is the same as this video, 5 Tips for Girls in the Throes of Wedding Planning. One final thing I would say is just, again, enjoy being engaged. You are only engaged for so long, and I know how exciting it is to be close to getting married. I know how antsy you probably are to get married, but realize that you are only engaged for a short amount of time, and you are going to be married, Lord willing, for the rest of your life. So enjoy this time, soak it up, savor it. It is so sweet. And because before you know it, you will be married, and perhaps with a nearly 1-year-old like I am. So I've been married almost 2 years, and we have a little girl who's 11 months. So you never know what's right around the corner. And, I look back fondly on that time of being engaged. In a lot of ways, I think I rushed through it more than I should have because I was so excited to get married, and that's a good thing, to be excited to be married. That's the way it ought to be. If you're not excited to be married to your fiance, then you may not need to be engaged. But in the midst of all that excitement and anticipation, just remember to soak up that time and savor it, because it is precious. So I hope that's been helpful to you. Or to your friends, if you have friends right now who are engaged and could benefit from this video. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to watch this. And as always, you can leave a comment here, or you can head on over to my blog, hargraveshomeandhearth.blogspot.com. Leave a comment for me there. My email address is there on the Contact Me page. And as always, I would love to hear from you. If you have any ideas for future vlogs, different topics you would like me to cover, by all means let me know. I'm all ears. And so I look forward to hearing from you and talking to you again soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye everyone.